Hey everybody, Harold here. In my last video, I showed you how to use all to get grand totals. Today, I want to talk about all selected and how it helps you get correct grand totals on your visual. Definition of all selected, again, it's a DAX function filter in parentheses. Returns all the rows in a table or all the values in a column, ignoring any filters that might have been applied inside the query but keeping filters that come from outside. Outside would mean like those applied in a visual filter pane or a slicer. Syntax is all selected. Again, all these arguments, just like with all, are optional. You can just open close parentheses, or you can do a table. If you do a table, it stops there, or you can do multiple columns, repeatable. Returns an entire table or a table with one or more columns. Well, it's not quite true. It also is a calculate modifier. You can create tables with it. Um, this function, it removes the corresponding filters from the filter context as a calculate modifier. It doesn't materialize a table when it's used that way. It can be used as a table expression when it has at least one argument. And if you have no arguments, it can only be used with calculate or calculate table and removes all the filters from the filter context. So just like all selected is a table and a filter expression, but it's most commonly used as calculate modifier for deriving correct visual totals, but it can generate a table as well. So let's go to the DAX. So here I am in DAX Query View. If you haven't used it, it's a great way to evaluate tables before you put them in your model. It's this DAX icon here on the left pane, DAX Query View. I'm going to show you how to use all selected to create a table. Not something commonly done, but it could be useful in certain situations. So I could say all selected, customer, occupation, and that should give me all selected customer occupations in one column. Well, in a one column table. So let's run it. There you go. Professional management. That's all selected customer lookup occupation. Distinct values. If I wanted to get the whole customer table, whole customer lookup table, I could just do this. That is the whole table and it will include duplicates. Um, I could do more than one column. We'll do occupation again and gender. Should be all the distinct combination pairs, male, professional, female, professional, and the NA professional, which was people chose not to answer. So that all works good. And just for a little more advanced example, I could do something like use it use it as a virtual table in a table, add columns, all selected. I wanted kind of like select columns, customer lookup. Let's do occupation and gender again. So there's a little table in my add columns table. I want to add some columns to it, just one. I'm going to call it total sales. And in it, I will put total sales. Close that. Add columns. And run that. So now I have a table of all selected customer lookup, customer occupation inside a table where I've added it and put it in and added total sales to it and called it total sales. Just a little more advanced example. Again, none of this is very common. Most common use is a calculate modifier. So let's go to report view. Got a table here with occupation and total sales. Got a occupation slicer, and well, we'll just leave that up here for now. So if I want to get a grand total, I could use my all sales function, which we previously calculated. I'll run through it with you again. All sales is calculate total sales, and the filter on that is all, no argument, which removes all filters from sales from the whole model. So this will always give me a grand total. If I drop that in the table, you will see always I get everything. Round that. Let's make that a currency and 2 decimal places. Okay, that looks good. So then to get the percent of grand total, what we did was drop this in here too. Percent of grand total is just dividing total sales by all sales. So clerical sales is 16% of all sales, so on and so forth. That was all covered in my all video. Check it out. All these videos are using the AdventureWorks database. I'll put a link to it in the description for my GitHub repository. So now that we have percent of grand total, well, that seems to work fine in this case. But if we start slicing, maybe multi-select, clerical management, well, now it's not a percent of the grand total of what's showing. It's still a percent of grand total of the whole model, all sales. So what if we wanted to only show the percentage of grand total for the fields selected in our slicer or filter? Well, here is where all selected is king. If I do a new measure, all selected, call it all selected, occupation equals, no, that's not good, space, occupation equals, we're going to use it in a calculating what total sales, and our modifier filter will be all selected. Customer lookup occupation. Close that. All selected. Close my calculate. And we'll commit that. Oh, we've already got one. I'll put occupations. Commit that. So all selected occupations. Drop him in the table. Okay, you're seeing a difference already. The total for the selected occupations is now showing up. Management, management. Clear that filter. So now, if you wanted to get a grand percent of total selected, do a new measure. Percent of all selected equals, now we just do our divide. Total sales by all selected occupations. And the last argument to avoid the zero error in a divide is whatever you want. So we'll do NA. Divide total sales by all selected occupations. Division by zero error, return NA. So let's commit that. Change it to a percentage. Drop it in our table. So now I have percent of all selected. Looks the same, but let me choose a couple of these. Management and manual. Now, management is 18.6% of the grand total, but it's 65.24% of management and manual together. What is visual? What I can see in my visual and selected? Those add up to 100%. So all selected, ignore any filters except the ones you choose on the visual. Clicking on any of this stuff. Slicer, filter pane over here, but also not be ignored. But any measure filters would be. Pretty simple, but very effective when using a visual and you understand the context. Word to the wise, though, only use all selected for calculations related to visual filters such as slicers. If you try to use them in more implicit calculations, you may not get the result you expect. I hope you liked this. If you did, please like it and subscribe, and I'll see you next time. Thanks, everybody.